Hey everybody, Kenny here. So today I'd like to kind of give a quick intro to the game Bastard Bonds, which is from a very crude studio, as you can see from the image down here. If you don't know what this means, then bless your heart. But this is a game where the idea behind it, for some reason, a selling point by the devs was that they wanted it to be kind of an R-rated roguelike, which I don't understand why that was an intention for them. But there's nudity and stuff, so I'm going to be anytime that's present on screen, I'll be fuzzing it out so that it isn't particularly present. But this is actually a very good game. One of my preferred roguelike games. So technically this is a roguelike, but at the same point, this also definitely is not a roguelike in that, gameplay wise, it is very similar. I mean, it's not symbol based, it's not like asterisks and stuff as the environments and all that. But you are controlling a character on a tile set, and when you move, enemies move, things like that. But the reason I don't think of this as a roguelike is that there are actually save states, so you can save your game and keep your progress, and if your characters die, you can just reload the game, and there won't be any problems, with going and just starting from where you left off previously. Obviously, you'll have to redo whatever dungeon you were in when you died, or when the character died that you didn't want to die. But in that sense, this is a much more forgiving type for this style of game. This is much more forgiving than the majority of games in this genre. That said, however, as I am someone who is more interested in progression systems than they are in things like storytelling and stuff like that, even though, once again, it's not that I don't like writing and things like that in my games. It's just that, to me, I weigh progression systems above all of the other stuff. And this has one of the progression systems that I consider one of the more interesting systems that I've seen in any kind of more indie RPG. So first, I'm going to show the loadouts of the characters that I have, and then based on that, then I'll go and I'll create a new character to show how those builds came about, and then I'll go and show the game in action. So this here, Alphonse, this was a character that I created and played up to this point in the campaign in. And you can see here, if we look at our stats, this here represents your affinity. So your affinity, if you're familiar with alignment in Dungeons and Dragons, this is your neutral character stance. So if your character has this yin yang symbol, that means they're neutral. If they have kind of red sunburst thing, and I'm specifically not cycling through characters because of the fact that, as I mentioned, there is nudity and certain characters will always be naked. So I just to save myself some work in blurring things out, I'm just not going to cycle through my characters. But there's one where it's red, and that's your chaotic, and there's one that's a square, and that's your lawful. So these here, these aren't actually symbols here, representing different things. These are symbols representing different things, but these are actually just the equipment this character's wearing. So this character is wearing a sword, kind of a harness and a torch. But like, yeah, so this is like when you see the fist, that represents force. When you see the little pinching thing, that represents guile. And when you see the hand here, that represents magic. Then like the actual icons for these aren't present because I don't really know why. Like the developers decided that, you know, these should be replaced by the equipment you put in those slots. So like this is your attack, and so, you know, like whatever weapon you equip in your attack spot. So that's why that's showing as the sword, as the equipped weapon. This is defense, and so, you know, I have this armor equipped as my defensive gear. So that's why it's showing my armor there instead of the defense icon. And this is for, and like you have a utility slot, and the utility item that like this character's wearing is a torch. That's why that's there. But the idea is that this is actually a matrix of power, kind of. And so, as any mathematical matrix goes, and these are multipliers. So everything starts at 1, and then so you choose to invest in fight, guard, labor, hunt, dodge, thwart, blast, ward, or weave. And based on whichever one of those you invest in, the corresponding, I guess, vertices in the matrix will be updated and multiply each other. So in the case of our utility stat here, the reason that our labor is 64, our thwart is 4, and our weave is 20 is because we have a total of 5 points in magic, a total of 1 point in guile, and a total of 13 points in force. Actually, I'm sorry. We actually have more like total of 16 in force. But the way I allocated these is that obviously the majority of my points went into force, and I didn't put any points into guile for this character. But for my magic stats, I put 4 points into blast because, as I mentioned, everything starts at 1 point each. So by investing 4 points into blast, that brought our magic score from 1 up to 5. And then our fight score, so it brought our magic score from 1 up to 5, and it brought our attack score from 1 up to 5. However, since I invested so many points into the force category by investing 3 points into labor and 12 points into guard, our fight ends up being 5 times 16 instead of 5 times 5. You know, so basic multiplication matrix, and by utilizing this, like, you gain access to certain skills. So because this character is above the 50 point threshold in fight, they have access to strength, which makes it that they gain additional damage based on whatever our fight statistic is. And the active defense skill is gained by having your guard above 50 points, or 50 or above. And longevity is gained by having guard above, I think it's either 100 or 150 is the next threshold. And then hardworking, which what this does is, while you're out in the field, sometimes you'll come across a kind of a little mini game, but only characters that have the corresponding skill can participate in the mini game. So let's say there's a rock in the map and you want to push the rock over. Like, the character needs to have the ability to attempt labor challenges in order to perform that task. So by having more than 50 labor, you're able to have your character participate in that specific challenge. Then Healing Aura is attained by having a ward of 50 or more, which is why I invested those points over here. And what that does is that when you use your active defense skill, you actually heal yourself and characters around you for a certain amount of health that increases based on how high your ward goes. So the higher thresholds of ward, the more effective this aura is. Now, this skill right here, Innocent, this is based on a character creation aspect. So when you're creating your character, you are asked what you were charged, the reason why you were put in jail. And you tell them like what the crime was. And then you tell them how you plead, and then you tell, I guess, like the narrator, I guess, whether or not what you pled was the truth. And that's what determines your alignment here. So if you say that you're innocent and you actually were innocent, then you will be neutral. If you say you were guilty and you were actually guilty, then your alignment will be neutral. If you claim you were innocent, but you were actually guilty, then you will be chaotic. If you claim to be guilty, but you were actually innocent, then you'll be lawful, which is weird. Once you reach a certain point in the story, you'll gain access to your kind of home base here. And inside of your home base, this is where all of your party members are going to be corralled, and you'll gain party members as you're playing through the game. This guy right here, Roguelike, like he'll always be the first party member that joins you. But this guy here, Hardane, this one here, like everyone else is kind of random. Like they may show up, they may not show up. Like there's no guarantee on what characters will show up where. Like that's kind of part of the procedural generation of the game on who you'll actually encounter as you play through. But every character will have their own builds. Sometimes the builds will overlap. And you don't have to recruit everyone. And it definitely is not to your benefit to recruit everyone. So kind of be mindful about who you pick up, because you have a limited number of currency and supplies to be able to run your warband. And after every mission, you will... well, not mission. Every dungeon run, I guess. You'll have your supplies and resources reduced by your upkeep amount. Which, once again, like I'm not going into that because I would have to blur out certain characters when they appear. So, like I wish that you had the option to clothe all the characters, but you don't. You can clothe most characters, but there are some characters that are just naked. That's just how the character is. There's nothing you can do about it. Yeah, but with that out of the way, I'm going to now show character creation to go into more detail. So there are two different ways that you can create a new character. You can either start a new character or create a character template. If you choose to create a new character, then you'll go through the same process you'll do if you create a character template. The difference is that when you're done, you'll start a new game. Whereas when you create a character template, once you finish, then you'll just go right back to this screen here. That's what we're going to do. I'm going to create a new character template. And I'm going to be blurring out most of what's in the background. I'm just going to create an orc with a big goofy mane of red hair. Like you have to choose your color before you add it. Give him kind of a loincloth and best thing, kind of a red overcoat with some white booties. Now that we've done that, we can name our defendant here. We will name them Orko. And Orko was arrested for arson. Orko will tell the court that they have committed arson. And the truth of his guilt is that he is not an arson. Oh, it seems I was actually wrong about that. I thought I remembered it being that if you... That I know that like if you say that you did it and that you didn't do it and you actually did do it, then you get chaotic. But apparently that's also the case for... I mean, apparently like you can become neutral if you happen to be innocent, pled that you were actually committed the crime. Oh, actually, no. Okay, I remember what it is now. Yeah, so I'm neutral because this character is neutral because I said I wasn't innocent when I was. Like, you're lawful when you say you are innocent and you actually are. That's what it was. Yeah, I got them backwards. So here is where you kind of create your starting build. You have 10 points to work with. As I mentioned, each point that you invest, you get to... Well, each point you invest increases the vertices of that particular skill set. So for dodge, you were working on defense and guile. You can see that each one goes up by 1, and those are multiplied together to get your skill result. So if you put all 10 of your points into a single skill, then you get enough points to achieve the first 2 skills of that branch. So in this case, the first 2 dodge skills are Sidestep, which improves your chance of evading physical and magical attacks. And the second skill is Battle Dance, which makes it that your enemies have increased risk whenever you evade their physical attacks, which risk is a mechanic in this game where essentially you make yourself easier to hit by increasing your risk. Well, actually, no. I shouldn't say that. You make it that there's a higher likelihood that you will receive a crit when you increase your risk. So whenever you're performing actions in combat, you want to make sure that whoever is attacking, if there's someone who doesn't have a skill like Graceful, which makes it that you generate less risk, then you do not want them to be on the front line. You want to make sure that whoever is fighting in the front line is someone who is not generating a lot of risk, and that whoever is generating a lot of risk is in the back line. Which is kind of antithetical to the way that these skills work. Since Hunt is the skill you would want to invest in if you were making a ranged character. If you're making a ranged character, then having them create more risk doesn't really matter unless you're like you're fighting enemies that can attack past the front line. Which also, and now not all enemies can do this, but there are a lot of enemies in the game who can just bypass your line. So even if you are kind of like blocking the path and like you have your like ranged combatants like further in, some enemies can just like run right past you. Even if they're large enemies, they can still just kind of ignore your formation. Not all enemies do it, but some can. That's something to consider. Yeah, but like it's a very neat system that I really like. Because I mean, even though like it in a way it's just a standard stat investment progression system, like you've seen in so many Western RPGs like Arcania and Divinity 2. Not Divinity Original Sin 2, but Divinity 2. I forget the subtitle of that game, like Dragon Knight Saga or something like that. like, like games where like by investing in a single skill, you'll unlock abilities for that skill. And by investing in a single stat, like you'll unlock abilities. Like it's a very common type of progression, but I like this more because it since the like by investing in fight, you're increasing both attack and force. Like while yes, like it makes it that like your fight will grow faster the more you invest in fight. It also makes it that if you wanted to invest in guard or labor, then those would grow faster than if you had invested in fight and chose to invest in dodge, thwart, ward, or weave. Same for hunt and blast. You would also get the same benefits if you had been investing in fight. You get the same benefits if you were to invest in guard or labor. Or if you had been investing in dodge like I did here, then it would make it that investing in hunt, thwart, guard, or ward would have more benefit than if you were to try to invest in blast, fight, labor, or weave. Like the way you invest your points makes it more beneficial to invest in other areas, which is something I very much enjoy in my progression systems in RPGs. Like I like it when you're able to create a character that has a clear specialty, but also things that they're proficient in that aren't their particular specialty. And this is a perfect system for that kind of thing. Yeah, so this is the main reason why I wanted to highlight this game, because it's something that if you're someone who enjoys progression systems, then like there's a lot of interesting stuff you can do here. Like I'll kind of just hover over each of these, just so if like you're interested in wanting to try this game out yourself, you can kind of like base your decision on these things. Like one thing that like I'm not a big fan of with this game is the fact that you can't do this unless once you have made a character, you cannot do this unless a character levels up. Like you can't even see this screen unless a character has leveled up or you're creating a new character. Which I don't understand why the devs decided to work their game that way, but they did. Which is unfortunate. Yeah, so with that out of the way, let me just refund those points and we'll make, since he's an arsonist, we will make it that that's kind of half his points in magic, half his points in guile. And then push him a little further into magic. Now he has access to dangerous, which increases his crit chance when attacking with both weapons and magic. And Arcus, which makes it that we can use our spells on enemies outside of physical range. Now we've created a character. Just hit escape from cell. And pick your personality. So we'll say that he's lewd. Orko is a lewdman. So with that out of the way, let's do a quick load adventure. Once you have access to the world map, anything that has a little arrow on it is a place that you haven't been to yet. If it doesn't have the arrow, that means that you've already explored that area. There's nothing really for you to do there. So we'll head to this coven here. Burnt Earth Coven. Even the most untrained can sense this area is thick with magic. There are many signs of recent activity. Unexplored location. Enter. So once you're inside, it gets your kind of standard roguelike RPG fare. So you can go and pick kind of who's heading the party just by clicking on portraits. So with my main guy, since he's set up for defense, he's gonna go and move first ahead of everybody. Then they'll all catch up once he kind of goes a little out of range. And if you happen to run into group of an encounter, then stuff will happen. But in this case, I'm going to try interacting with this crystal here. This crystal appears to be an anchor for an enchantment. Someone of sufficient skill could unravel it. Now, our Alphonse here is trained in magic, but not in weave. And anything that's something like this would require someone with a good amount of weave, and we don't have anyone in our party with that skill. But we're going to try anyway. Dispel it. This task is clearly outside of your range of ability, and you would only injure yourself in the attempt. You'd best have another, more qualified person attempt this. But because we don't have anyone in our party with the necessary skills, we cannot do this particular skill challenge. So we'll just move on with the dungeon. This here is actually a door, and it just looks like logs in the wood. We'll approach the door and open it up. It's locked, so we'll have someone who is trained in thwart, which is our Carrillo here. Something kind of funny about Carrillo, like Carrillo is basically Batman, which I think is funny. Like his writing is clearly intended to be that he's Batman. Oh, I see. So this actually isn't a thwart encounter. This is actually like that. Like this here is actually what's locking it. But it's magically sealed, not sealed with a lock. Unless it's this handle here. Nope, that wasn't the case. But like it could be like just some secret thing. Like if we were to move the mouse around and see if anything. No, nothing is giving off anything, so we can't actually do anything here, unfortunately. So we just exit the area. And we don't get any experience because experience is gained on a percentage base on like how many of the available encounters in an area you have completed. But like if you see that when you're looking around like these areas here, you can see that like there's the ones that have the arrows on it, and there's ones that don't have the arrows on it but are kind of sparkling. The ones that are sparkling mean that there are things that we haven't completed there yet. If they're... I'm sorry. That means that we've completed everything there. If they are just showing as not sparkling, then that means that there are things that we still can do in that area. So, we'll go to one of the areas that we haven't been to yet. This is a hot springs area. Yeah, last time I tried this, there was actually an orc waiting here. It was an orc bandit. Now it's a female human thief. This place is dangerous. Be on your guard. I came here for much the same reason as you, no doubt. Looking for supplies. I haven't found much yet. But I'm going to rest up and take it slow. I was nearly had by monsters back there. But I don't want to push it. I could recruit her, but I won't. I'm going to try putting the switch. Nothing happens. There's a note on the table though. And if I read it, you were right. There's a problem with the steam pressure. Looks like I owe you a drink. We had to leave it plugged up, so you shouldn't have any trouble getting the doors open. Yeah, so now we know that we have to perform an action near a steam pool. And so we have entered an encounter. We have this guy just walk over here. Really move a bit. And this guy's also set up for defense. So like I kind of use him as our cleric. I'm gonna have him move right there. Then have our Alphonse move right there. This is the enemy we've encountered. So if your characters have enough points into guard to have the active defense skill, then you can just right click on them, end their turn. In this case we are on Lagway, who has only 12 guard. So he can still defend, but it's not the same kind of defend that the rest get. But now when we have our Cardane defend, you can see that if our characters were missing any health, then that would have caused some healing. because he also has the healing aura. So the Direpotamus went and caused pain on our tank character, which makes it that his defense and healing are now reduced. But our Lagway is wearing a bow, which gives him increased attack reach, so he can just attack from where he is. And the Direpotamus is down. But there's another one. During that last encounter, our Carillo and Cardane took some hits, so we're going to spend some time hitting them up. But while they're doing that, we're going to have Lagway move up, where everybody's back to top health. But now Carillo receives some pain, which you definitely don't want him to stay face to face with the enemy. Well, that's the case, so we'll have him back up a bit. Our Cardane helps with healing. And we'll let our Alphonse take the hits since he has the most health out of everybody. Okay, another Direpotamus down. Over here, we can see that there's a loose boulder here we can interact with. It looks like we can move the boulder if we push hard enough. And as I mentioned, our Alphonse is trained in labor. We'll have him push. This is a labor test right here. So this is kind of like a memory game kind of thing. Like you'll click, and if it's a good result, then we'll have limited turns to be able to and the recover. So we only have 3 clicks, and we have to make sure that each click we do is positive, because the worst of the 3 will be orders counted. We got the best result there, and we got the worst result in that one. You pushed as hard as you can, but you can't manage to roll the boulder out of the resting place. Might have better luck with another attempt. Yeah, so we failed that attempt, and unfortunately, like, I think that I might be out of attempts with this character. I think when you only have, like, when you're under 100, well, when you have 50 labor but under 100, like, you only get a single attempt that you can do. Oh, no, we'll let you do it. Cool. Yeah, so we know that that one's good. We know that this one is very bad. Oh no. Yeah, so those get, I guess, randomized each time as well. And we can see, like, we've taken a lot of damage from failing that. Yeah, so basically this is like Minesweeper with with very negative results. You mess up. Yep. And we died. We died attempting the trial. Yeah, but like it's a neat adventure game, kind of turn-based so it's an army building game, a base building game, a dungeon crawling game. It's all of these things and none of these things. But I really enjoy it. Like I like that, you know, because I'm able to save between missions. Like I feel more cavalier in pushing things farther than I should. Yeah, so even though, like, you know, this was the worst result we could have expected, like, it is interesting. Like, you know, like any time you can fail like this in a game, to me that's interesting. Like, if the game make a setup that you always succeed, you know, like there's less player involvement in that, you know, because it's like everything is set up that, oh, you know, like you know, here's your participation trophy. You know, you walk through the door. Like I like games like this where, you know, they let you take the risk and reap your failures. Yeah, but like this is a game that, like, I highly recommend it. It's as I mentioned, I think it's might actually be listed as an adult game. I'm honestly not certain on that. Because it's not like the game like has like a lot of like lewd things going on in it. It's just that, like, you know, there's a lot of character designs where, like, you know, like they'll be naked, which is like, you know, what the kind of like the R-rated thing is for this game. Because obviously, like, you know, there's no like super graphic like dismemberments or anything like that. It's not that kind of like adult rated game, and there's no like you know, like visual sexual acts or anything like that. Because, you know, these are sprites with very like, it's not even really real animation. Like, it's you know, like they have kind of like, basically the animation is that, like, you know, the sprites will kind of like, I didn't show it when I was creating that character, but like one of the things you can do is there's you know, quote unquote animation sets. And all the animation sets do is it determines how the sprite that you created gets manipulated while you're idle. So maybe, like, you know, like it'll kind of rotate slightly on an axis that's closer to the legs. Maybe it'll rotate slightly based on an axis that's closer to the chest. And maybe it'll kind of just like pan from side to side a little. Like, you know, there's no actual animation for these things. So, you know, so there's no like overt like sexual themes or like severely violent themes or anything of the sort. So it's really just that, you know, there's art assets that are kind of lewd. Like, you know, like the title screen of the game, like there's actually, like, if you go in, actually, you know, I don't even remember how, like, I don't remember if I found that out by accident, or if I, like, you know, if I actually like said it in like one of the like tutorials. Yeah, I remember, like, you know, like there's like a button you can press, and it changes it changes that art asset to where everybody's naked there, you know, which is a choice. I said, like, I don't know why this was something that the developers were interested in doing, like when it comes to like the art stuff. But again, but the game itself is solid. Again, like the mechanics are solid, the progression systems are solid, like the writing is solid, like you know, like all of the stuff that matters is solid. Like I don't know why it is they thought that the selling point should be that instead of the stuff they actually put work into. Yeah, this has been Bastard Bonds. It's a very good rogue-like-ish game. But as usual, if you've liked listening to this old man talk about RPGs and enjoyed this video, then I appreciate doing all the YouTube stuff. Like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, be Victus, Virus and Omaris, and bye.